Let me ask you something real. Why is it that some men can walk into a room and without saying a single word, women notice them? They're not always the tallest, the richest, or the best-looking guys in the place, yet somehow the energy around them feels different. People pay attention, women lean in, and you've probably wondered, what is it that they have that I don't? Here's the truth. Attraction isn't about tricks, cheesy lines, or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about what you carry within yourself, the way you move through the world, the standards you set, the energy you project. Women don't fall for men who try too hard. They fall for men who don't need to try at all, because they know who they are. And I'm going to tell you something that may sting. Women can smell insecurity a mile away. They can sense when a man is desperate for validation, when he's hiding behind bravado, or when he's performing instead of being real. You can't fake strength. You can't fake presence. And you sure as hell can't fake respect, especially self-respect. But here's the good news. Attraction isn't a mystery. It's not luck. It's not magic. It's a skill, a mindset, a way of living that you can develop. And once you understand what really matters, not the shallow nonsense, not the fake bravado, not the illusions, you'll realize that women are not complicated. They are simply drawn to men who carry themselves with clarity, with control, with integrity, and with purpose. Tonight we're going to break it down. I'm not here to sell you tricks. I'm here to show you the truth about what women are actually attracted to. Because when you master these things, not only do you draw women closer, but you also transform the way the world sees you, the way people treat you, and most importantly, the way you see yourself. When we talk about attraction, most men jump straight to external factors. They think about money, looks, status, or charm. And while those things might grab attention for a moment, they don't hold it. What truly captures attention and keeps it is self-respect. A man who respects himself carries a presence that can't be faked. It shows in the way he speaks, the way he walks, the way he treats others, and most importantly, the way he treats himself. Self-respect is magnetic because it communicates something deeper than words ever could. When a man respects himself, he's not desperate for approval. He's not begging for validation. He doesn't crumble under rejection because he knows his worth doesn't depend on someone else's opinion. That energy is powerful. Women feel it. People feel it. It makes others lean in because strength always draws attention. Think about the opposite for a second. A man who has no self-respect often tries to compensate. He over-explains. He over-apologizes. He bends over backwards to please everyone, hoping that if he sacrifices himself enough, someone will finally see his value. But here's the hard truth. When you don't respect yourself, no one else will either. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow, what you tolerate, and how you show up. If you constantly put yourself last, you're sending a loud message, I don't matter. And that message kills attraction instantly. Now, self-respect doesn't mean arrogance. It's not about thinking you're better than anyone else. It's not about walking around with your chest puffed out, trying to dominate every room you walk into. That's insecurity disguised as confidence. Real self-respect is quiet. It's steady. It's the ability to stand your ground without needing to shout about it. It's saying no when something doesn't align with your values, even if it costs you. It's refusing to compromise your dignity just to be liked. And that type of strength doesn't need to be announced. It speaks for itself. Women notice when a man has standards. They notice when he doesn't let people talk down to him. They notice when he protects his time, his energy, and his goals. A man with self-respect doesn't chase everything that moves because he knows his attention is valuable. He doesn't throw himself at people who don't value him. He doesn't confuse being wanted with being worthy. He already knows his worth. And because he knows it, women can sense it. They're drawn to it because self-respect creates safety, stability, and authority. Here's something most men overlook. Women are not just attracted to what you give them. They're attracted to what you give yourself. Do you take care of your health, your body, your mind? Do you have discipline in how you live? Do you follow through on your word, even when no one is watching? All of these are signals of self-respect. And when you respect yourself, you naturally command respect from others. You don't have to demand it. It shows. Let's be clear. Self-respect will sometimes cost you. It may mean walking away from people who don't treat you well. It may mean losing opportunities because you refuse to compromise your values. It may mean being misunderstood or even criticized. But that's the price of strength. And while weak men chase acceptance at any cost, strong men understand that respect is worth more than approval. Women recognize this. They know when a man is willing to stand alone rather than bow just to fit in. That's attractive because it shows backbone. It shows he's not easily swayed. And a man who can stand on his own is a man who can also stand for her. But self-respect is not just about big moments of courage, it's built in the small daily choices. Do you keep your word to yourself? When you say you're going to the gym, do you actually go or do you make excuses? When you promise yourself you'll stop wasting time, do you follow through or do you keep scrolling and procrastinating? Every time you break a promise to yourself, you chip away at your own self-respect. And here's the truth, if you don't respect your own word, why should anyone else? On the other hand, when you keep your commitments, even the ones no one else sees, you build integrity. And that integrity becomes visible in how you carry yourself. Women are highly intuitive. They may not always articulate it, but they pick up on whether a man has self-respect. They notice the little things, how you react to disrespect, how you handle rejection, how you treat yourself when no one else is watching. They notice whether you value your time or waste it. They notice whether you value your time or waste it. They notice whether you carry yourself with dignity or constantly need reassurance. And those subtle signals tell them everything they need to know. The truth is, self-respect is not optional if you want lasting attraction. Looks fade, status changes, charm can wear off, but a man with self-respect is timeless because he doesn't just offer temporary excitement, he offers stability, confidence, and leadership. He doesn't need to control anyone because he already controls himself. And that kind of presence doesn't just attract women, it earns the respect of men as well. So if you want to know what truly draws women in, stop looking outside yourself and start looking inward. Ask yourself, do I respect me? Do I live in a way that makes me proud, even if no one else is watching? Do I set standards and actually enforce them? Because at the end of the day, self-respect is not just magnetic, it's the foundation for everything else. Without it, nothing else matters. With it, you don't just attract women, you attract opportunities, relationships, and respect everywhere you go. And here's the bottom line. You can't fake self-respect. You either live it or you don't. But once you do, once you start walking with that quiet confidence, once you start treating yourself as someone valuable, the world takes notice. Women take notice, and suddenly attraction is no longer a game you're trying to win, it's a natural response to the man you've become. Emotional control is one of the most underrated strengths a man can have, and yet it's one of the most powerful. People think attraction is about looks, status, or money, but what women consistently notice and what they are drawn to at a deeper level is a man who can remain calm when life gets messy. Emotional control is power because it shows discipline, maturity, and stability is attractive because it makes people feel safe. Think about it. Life is unpredictable. There will always be stress, setbacks, disappointments, and conflicts. Anyone can act confident when everything is going right, but the real test of character comes when things go wrong. How do you handle yourself when you're under pressure? Do you explode? Do you shut down? Do you lash out and blame everyone else? Or do you stay grounded, assess the situation, and move forward with clarity? A man who can control his emotions in the heat of the moment communicates strength without saying a word. Now let's be clear, emotional control doesn't mean being a robot. It doesn't mean suppressing every feeling or pretending you don't care. Real strength isn't about shutting emotions off, it's about mastering them. It's knowing how to feel anger without letting it turn into rage. It's acknowledging fear without letting it paralyze you. It's experiencing sadness without letting it drown you. Control doesn't mean you never feel, it means you don't let those feelings run your life. Women notice this. They notice the difference between a man who flies off the handle every time something doesn't go his way, and a man who takes a breath, steadies himself, and chooses his response. One is unpredictable, exhausting, even dangerous. The other is reliable, calming, and trustworthy. And trust is one of the most attractive qualities a man can bring into any relationship. Here's something most men don't realize. Emotional control is not just about how you handle your own feelings. It's also about how you handle the emotions of others. If a woman is upset, do you mirror her chaos, escalate the situation, and make it worse? Or do you ground the moment with calmness, patience, and understanding? When you can remain steady while someone else is spinning out, you provide balance. You become an anchor. And anchors are magnetic because they create safety. Let's take an example. Imagine a couple arguing. One man gets defensive, raises his voice, interrupts, and throws insults back. The argument escalates until it turns toxic. That man might think he's standing his ground, but really he's showing that he has no control. Now picture another man in the same argument. He listens, keeps his voice steady, doesn't take the bait, and responds with clarity instead of chaos. He doesn't fold, but he also doesn't lose control. That second man shows strength because he refuses to let emotions dictate his behavior. That's the man who earns respect and attraction. But emotional control goes beyond relationships. It's also about how you move through the world. Do you get road rage over traffic? Do you let one rude comment ruin your entire day? Do you spiral into anxiety when faced with uncertainty? These moments may feel small, but they reveal everything about your inner discipline. A man who is ruled by his emotions is a man who is easily controlled. And nothing is less attractive than someone who has no control over himself. Here's the deeper truth. Emotional control is tied directly to leadership. People, including women, are naturally drawn to men who can lead. Not because they bark orders, but because they stay composed when others can't. In a crisis, people look for the calm voice, the steady presence, the person who doesn't panic. That presence is what separates boys from men, and it's why emotional control is one of the strongest signals of maturity and strength. Of course, building emotional control doesn't happen overnight. It requires awareness and practice. You have to learn how to pause before reacting. You have to train yourself to respond instead of explode. It means catching yourself in the heat of the moment and asking, is this reaction helping or hurting? Does this reflect the man I want to be? At first it's hard, but over time that pause becomes power. It shows you that you're not a prisoner to your emotions, you're in charge of them. And here's where many men slip up. They think bottling everything inside is control. But that's not control, it's avoidance. Sooner or later, bottled emotions explode in destructive ways. Real control comes from acknowledging what you feel, processing it, and choosing how to act. It's the difference between letting anger control your actions versus channeling that anger into determination, problem-solving, or discipline. One destroys, the other builds. Women are naturally attuned to emotional energy. They don't just hear what you say. They feel how you carry yourself. If you're insecure, it leaks into your tone, your posture, your reactions. If you're confident and in control, it radiates. Emotional control is attractive because it signals strength on the deepest level, the strength to master yourself. And if you can master yourself, you can handle the challenges of life, relationships, and leadership. So how do you build emotional control? It starts with self-awareness. You can't control what you don't notice. Begin paying attention to your triggers, the moments when you feel your emotions rising. Then practice creating space between feeling and action. Breathe. Step back. Choose your response. Over time, this discipline becomes second nature. And the more you practice, the more power you have. At the end of the day, women are not looking for perfection. They're not expecting you to never get upset, never feel anxious, never struggle. What they are looking for is steadiness. They want to know that when life gets hard, you won't collapse under pressure. They want to know that when emotions run high, you won't make things worse. They want to know that you have the maturity and discipline to lead with calm strength. And here's the ultimate truth. Emotional control is not just attractive, it's life-changing. It makes you more effective in business, more respected among peers, and more trusted in relationships. It takes you from being reactive to being intentional. It transforms you from being easily swayed to being unshakable. And when a man is unshakable, when he can master himself, no matter what comes his way, that is the kind of man people are drawn to. That is the kind of man women cannot ignore. There is something undeniably magnetic about a man who knows where he is going. You can feel it in the way he talks, the way he moves, and the way he carries himself. Purpose and drive are irresistible because they speak to something deeper than surface-level attraction. They show that a man is not just existing, he is living with intention. And when a man has direction, people can sense it. Women can sense it. It creates an energy that draws others in, because nothing is more compelling than someone who is on a mission. Purpose is not about being rich, famous, or having the perfect career. It's not about chasing material status to impress others. Purpose is about clarity. It's about knowing why you wake up in the morning and what you're working toward. It's about having something bigger than yourself that fuels your choices and your discipline. A man without purpose drifts, and people can see that drift. His energy feels scattered, uncertain, unfocused. He may look like he's doing fine on the outside, but inside there's no fire, and that lack of fire shows up in how he talks, how he moves, and how he connects. On the other hand, when a man has purpose, everything about him shifts. His eyes are sharper, his words carry more weight, his presence feels stronger. He doesn't have to prove himself, because his mission already speaks for him. A man with purpose doesn't waste time trying to impress, because he's too busy building, growing, and moving forward. And that focus is attractive because it communicates strength, certainty, and leadership. Women are naturally drawn to men with drive, not because they expect perfection, but because drive is a sign of stability. It shows that he is not stagnant, that he is capable of growth, and that he has the strength to build a life, not just drift through one. Attraction isn't about the size of a man's bank account, it's about the size of his vision. A man who knows where he's going, even if he hasn't arrived yet, is infinitely more attractive than a man who is lost with no direction. Think about it. When you meet someone who is passionate about their work, their craft, or their goals, it's infectious. You feel their energy, their determination, and their fire. That energy pulls you in because passion is magnetic. Now compare that to someone who complains constantly, who makes excuses, who settles for mediocrity. The difference is night and day. One inspires, the other drains, and when it comes to attraction, inspiration is irresistible. But purpose alone is not enough. It has to be paired with drive. Drive is the engine that keeps purpose alive. It's the willingness to put in the work, to make sacrifices, and to stay disciplined even when motivation fades. Purpose without drive is just a dream. Drive without purpose is just blind effort. But when the two come together, they create momentum. And momentum is what turns a man into someone others want to follow, support, and be around. Here's the thing most men overlook. Women don't want to be your purpose. They don't want to be the thing you build your entire identity around. That kind of pressure isn't attractive. It's suffocating. What women are drawn to is a man who already has a mission, who already knows who he is and where he's going, and who invites her to share in that journey, not define it. A man who lives with purpose shows that he doesn't need someone to complete him. He is already complete, and that completeness creates the foundation for real connection. A man with drive also commands respect because he doesn't give up when things get tough. He keeps pushing, keeps moving, keeps striving. Women notice this resilience. They see how you handle setbacks, failures, and challenges. They're not looking for perfection. They're looking for persistence. They're looking for a man who won't quit when life gets hard, who won't fold under pressure, who won't settle for mediocrity when he's capable of more. That grit is attractive because it signals strength, and strength is irresistible. Let's be real, the opposite is just as obvious. A man with no drive, no ambition, no hunger becomes stagnant. He may get comfortable, but comfort without growth leads to decay. Over time, that lack of drive kills attraction, because there's nothing inspiring about someone who gave up on himself. You can't expect others to believe in you if you've stopped believing in yourself. And women can sense that loss of fire. They can feel when a man has given up, when he's coasting, when he's not willing to fight for more. Purpose and drive don't just make you more attractive, they make you more fulfilled. They give your life meaning, they shape your decisions, and they fuel your growth. And the side effect of living with purpose is that people are naturally drawn to you. Women are drawn to men who are lit up from within, who are passionate, who are disciplined, who are relentless about becoming better. That fire is contagious. It inspires trust, respect, and admiration. But here's the truth. Finding your purpose is not something that happens overnight. It takes reflection, courage, and honesty. You have to ask yourself, what matters to me? What am I willing to fight for? What kind of man do I want to become? And once you answer those questions, drive is what carries you forward. Drive is waking up early when you'd rather sleep. Drive is saying no to distractions when everyone else is wasting time. Drive is choosing discipline over comfort again and again until it becomes who you are. And let's be honest, purpose and drive will set you apart. Most people settle. Most people give up. Most people talk about what they want, but never put in the work. When you live with purpose and drive, you become rare. You stand out. And because you stand out, you become magnetic. Women notice. People notice. Opportunities notice. At the end of the day, purpose and drive are irresistible because they show that you are not waiting for life to happen. You are making life happen. You're not sitting back hoping for luck, hoping for approval, or hoping for someone to rescue you. You're creating your own path, and that independence, that determination, that fire is what draws women in. Because a man with purpose doesn't just attract women, he inspires them, he elevates them, and he sets a standard that is impossible to ignore. The way a man communicates can make or break the way he is perceived. Words are not just sounds that come out of your mouth. They are signals of who you are, how you think, and what you stand for. Communication is influence, and the men who understand this principle separate themselves from everyone else. You can have purpose, drive, self-respect, and even discipline. But if you cannot communicate that effectively, people will overlook you. Women in particular are highly attuned to how a man expresses himself. They are not just listening to the words you use, they are listening to how you use them, the tone, the confidence, the clarity, and even the silences in between. When a man communicates with clarity, he immediately commands attention. Clarity shows that you know what you want, that you've thought through your words, and that you are not afraid to stand behind them. On the other hand, vague, hesitant, or scattered communication signals uncertainty, and uncertainty creates doubt. Women notice this immediately. A man who rambles, fumbles, or sugarcoats everything communicates insecurity. But a man who speaks directly, without arrogance, but with certainty, communicates strength. But communication is not just about speaking, it's about listening. Too many men think they need to dominate conversations to show strength, but that actually reveals the opposite. When you're too busy trying to prove yourself with your words, you miss the real power of connection, listening. Women are drawn to men who listen not just to respond, but to truly understand. Listening shows presence, it shows patience, it shows that you value the other person enough to give them your full attention. In a world where everyone is desperate to be heard, the man who knows how to listen becomes rare, and rare is attractive. Another layer to this is body language. Your words can say one thing, but your posture, your eye contact, and your tone will always tell the truth. A man who slouches, avoids eye contact, or speaks too softly gives off uncertainty, even if his words are strong. A man who stands tall, maintains eye contact, and uses pauses to let his words land communicates confidence without having to say much at all. Women are extremely perceptive to these signals. They may not consciously analyze every gesture, but they feel the energy, and that energy influences how they see you. Emotional control also ties directly into communication. When you lose your temper, when you raise your voice unnecessarily, or when you let frustration control your tone, you communicate weakness. People who cannot regulate their emotions usually reveal it in their words first. But when you can communicate calmly, even under pressure, you show mastery. You show that you can lead, resolve conflict, and stay grounded. That type of communication is magnetic because it makes others feel safe around you. Now let's address something important. Communication is not about manipulation. It's not about memorizing clever lines or learning tricks to say the right thing. That kind of approach is shallow and fake, and women can see right through it. Authentic communication comes from alignment. It comes from speaking in a way that reflects who you really are, what you really believe, and what you really stand for. When your words and your actions line up, your communication carries weight. When they don't, people can sense the inconsistency immediately. Think about leaders, mentors, or even friends you admire. Chances are one of the reasons you respect them is because of the way they communicate. They speak with conviction, they listen deeply, and they carry themselves with presence. That same principle applies to attraction. Women are not just drawn to the content of your words, they are drawn to the conviction behind them. Even something simple like saying no with firmness or expressing gratitude with sincerity can be powerful when it comes from a place of authenticity. Here's another truth. Silence is part of communication too. Some men sabotage themselves because they feel the need to fill every silence with chatter. But silence, when used with confidence, is a powerful tool. Pausing before you speak shows control. Taking a moment to think shows you are intentional, not impulsive. Even the ability to sit in comfortable silence communicates presence and strength. Women don't always need endless words. They need to feel your energy, and sometimes silence speaks louder than anything else. Storytelling is another form of communication that creates influence. When a man can tell a story, not just recite facts, but paint a picture, he draws people in. Stories connect on an emotional level. They make people remember you, feel something with you, and connect with your experiences. You don't have to be a professional speaker to use storytelling. It can be as simple as sharing a lesson you learned, a challenge you overcame, or a vision you have for the future. When your stories are authentic and meaningful, they build connection. But perhaps the most critical element of communication is congruence. Do your words match your actions? Do your promises align with your behavior? Because if they don't, everything else falls apart. Women are not just listening to what you say, they are watching what you do. If you talk about respect, but disrespect people in public, your communication loses credibility. If you talk about ambition, but never follow through, your words ring hollow. Influence comes when your communication is backed by consistency, and consistency builds trust. Finally, communication is about energy. You can say the same words in two different ways, and they will land completely differently. If you say them with insecurity, they fall flat. If you say them with conviction, they hit hard. Energy is contagious. If you bring energy that is confident, calm, and steady, women will feel it, and they will be drawn to it. The bottom line is this: communication is influence, and influence is attraction. A man who communicates with clarity, listens with presence, and speaks with conviction doesn't just capture attention, he earns respect. And respect is the foundation of lasting attraction. It's not about smooth lines or clever tricks. It's about showing up authentically, speaking intentionally, and letting your words and energy reflect the man you truly are. At the end of the day, communication is the bridge between who you are and how others perceive you. If you build that bridge with authenticity, confidence, and presence, women will not only hear your words, they will feel your strength. And that feeling is what makes communication so magnetic. Integrity and consistency are two qualities that separate men who are temporarily admired from men who are deeply respected. You can have confidence, charm, even success, but without integrity and consistency, it all collapses eventually. Attraction might begin with appearance, charisma, or even excitement, but what sustains it, what transforms attraction into trust and lasting respect, is whether your words and actions line up day after day, without fail. Integrity means being whole. It means living in alignment with your values, not just when people are watching, but especially when no one is. A man with integrity doesn't wear a mask in public and then take it off in private. He doesn't say one thing and do another. He doesn't twist the truth when it benefits him. Integrity is the foundation of character, and character is what women and people at large are drawn to. Because charm fades, but character holds. Consistency is the companion of integrity. It's not enough to do the right thing once. It's about showing up the same way with the same values over and over again. Anyone can be impressive for a day or for a week. Anyone can pretend for a while. But consistency reveals who you really are. If you say you're disciplined, it shows in how you live every day, not in how you act when you feel motivated. If you say you're reliable, it shows in whether people can count on you week after week, not just when it's convenient. Women pay close attention to this because consistency signals safety. It shows that you're not a man who flips depending on his mood, his environment, or his company. Let's break it down. Imagine two men. The first says all the right things, promises big, and acts respectful when he wants something. But his actions never quite match his words. He cancels plans last minute. He says he values honesty but hides the truth when it suits him. He talks about being ambitious, but spends most of his time wasting hours on distractions. On the surface, he may seem attractive for a moment, but eventually his inconsistency destroys trust. Now look at the second man. He doesn't promise what he can't deliver. His words are simple, but solid. When he says he'll show up, he does. When he commits to something, he follows through. He doesn't need to exaggerate because his actions speak for him. Over time, people learn that his word is gold. He's consistent in how he treats others, how he handles pressure, and how he lives his values. That man might not always be the loudest in the room, but his presence is powerful because people know he's real, and that reality is what makes him attractive. Women are especially sensitive to inconsistency. They notice when a man changes his behavior depending on who's watching. They notice when he acts confident in public but insecure in private. They notice when he talks about respect, but shows none in his daily interactions. Inconsistency sends the message that a man is unreliable, and unreliability is a major turnoff. A woman wants to know that the man she's with is steady, dependable, and trustworthy. And that trust only comes from consistency. Integrity also builds respect because it often requires sacrifice. Telling the truth when it's hard, keeping promises when it's inconvenient, standing by your values when it costs you, that's integrity. And while it may not always give you instant rewards, it builds a reputation that nothing else can buy. People remember the man who stayed true to himself. They remember the one who didn't fold under pressure, who didn't compromise his dignity, who chose the harder right over the easier wrong. That kind of integrity makes you stand out in a world full of shortcuts and excuses. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Many men sabotage their own integrity without realizing it. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken your foundation. Every time you justify a lie, even a small one, you send a message to yourself that your word doesn't matter. Every time you say one thing and do another, you erode your own self-respect. And remember this, if you don't respect your own word, no one else will either. Consistency is what transforms integrity from theory into reality. A man with values but no consistency is just a man with good intentions, but a man who lives those values day in and day out becomes someone others can depend on. Think about it. If you want to build a strong body, you don't work out once and expect results. You train consistently. The same is true with character. It's not what you do occasionally that defines you, it's what you do consistently, and women know this. They are not impressed by big gestures that happen once in a while. They are impressed by daily discipline, by reliability, by the steady rhythm of a man who does what he says again and again. Attraction without trust is shallow. A woman might find you good-looking, charming, or fun, but if she cannot trust you, the attraction will fade. Trust is built on integrity and consistency. When your words and actions align, when your behavior is steady, you create a sense of security. And security is one of the most attractive traits you can offer, because in a world that is unpredictable, a man who is consistent becomes a rock. It's worth saying again, integrity and consistency are not about perfection. No one is flawless, and women don't expect perfection. What they do expect is honesty, effort, and reliability. If you make a mistake, own it. If you can't keep a promise, explain and take responsibility. Integrity doesn't mean never failing. It means taking responsibility when you do and correcting it. Consistency doesn't mean never changing. It means your core values stay the same, even as you grow. The beauty of integrity and consistency is that they attract not just women, but the right kind of women. If you live without integrity, you might still attract people, but they won't stay, or they won't be the kind of people who respect you. Integrity filters out those who aren't aligned with you and draws in those who value strength and truth. The same goes for consistency. Flaky, unreliable men attract chaos. Steady, consistent men attract loyalty. At the end of the day, integrity and consistency are everything because they prove that you're not just acting, you're living. They show that you're not just putting on a performance to impress, but that the man you present to the world is the same man you are in private. And that authenticity is magnetic. Women don't just want a man who can make them feel something in the moment. They want a man they can trust over time. They want to know that the attraction they feel is not just a spark, but a steady flame. That flame is built on integrity and consistency. And here's the final truth. You don't build integrity and consistency for women. You build it for yourself. Because when you live with integrity, you respect yourself. When you live with consistency, you trust yourself. And when you respect and trust yourself, others can't help but do the same. That's why integrity and consistency are not just attractive, they're essential. They're the difference between being noticed for a moment and being respected for a lifetime. At the end of the day, everything we've talked about comes down to one truth. Attraction isn't about gimmicks, tricks, or surface-level flash. It's about the man you choose to become when no one is watching. Women are not drawn to perfection. They are drawn to strength, to steadiness, to men who live with self-respect, emotional control, purpose, clarity in communication, and integrity that never wavers. These qualities are not just about winning attention, they are about earning respect. And respect is the foundation of everything. You see, too many men chase the wrong things. They think money will make them irresistible, or that looks will keep someone's attention forever, or that a clever line will spark something real. But all of that fades if there is no substance underneath it. What doesn't fade is character. What doesn't fade is the way you carry yourself when life gets hard. What doesn't fade is the way you carry yourself when life gets hard. What doesn't fade is the consistency of a man who shows up day after day, living in alignment with his values. The truth is, the most attractive man in any room is the one who doesn't need validation to know his worth. He respects himself. He controls himself. He drives forward with purpose. He communicates with clarity and presence. And he lives with integrity, not sometimes, but all the time. That man doesn't just capture attention. He commands respect. He doesn't just spark attraction. He sustains it. And here's the message I want you to leave with. Don't build yourself to be the man women want. Build yourself to be the man you respect, because when you become that man, when you truly embody those qualities, you won't have to chase attention. You'll naturally attract the right people, the right opportunities, and the right relationships into your life. Women will notice, yes, but more importantly, you will notice. You'll look in the mirror and see someone you admire, someone who doesn't need approval because he already knows his value. That's real power. That's real strength. And that's the kind of man no one can ignore.